We will start with Elena Marco, Sonia Oliveira, and Daniela Sinet, all from the Department of Architecture and Built Environment of the University of West England, Bristol. The title of the presentation, The Enforced Lockdown Experience of Architects, Exploration of Resilient Design Considerations Post-COVID-19.
And when lockdown hit, we ended up doing a little project trying to kind of capture the architects' views of the enforced lockdown that all of you, every single one of you, experienced back in March 2020. I can't even kind of say when it was, but one of the things that happens is all of us had to renegotiate boundaries, have to make notable adjustments in the way we lived. Well, the house as we knew it changed. We were doing activities in the house that before were done externally. Everything had to be reconsidered, renegotiated, and in a way reestablished. And you know, you had to think about synchronizing and even taking control of different spaces. So overnight, everything, absolutely everything changed. And that made me think and say, why not trying to capture the architect's views, those ones which have got an interest in design and know how to design houses and explore how the future housing design should be considered as a consequence of this lockdown experience when it was fresh in their minds. And we decided to do interviews with 23 architects, practicing architects in the area of the Southwest, Bristol in the UK, and analyze the personal experiences of the journeys through that lockdown through an interpretative phenomenological analysis that is very much used in the field of psychology, but not in architecture itself. And we decided to do that as well with visual diagrams, making them draw to kind of capture their vivid experiences and remember that kind of experience of lockdown. And then what we did is kind of the way we interview them, because it was done through semi-structured interviews and draw their experience, was in 4 stages, where we were looking at the physical qualities of the space they were living in, the kind of the experiences they had through the narration of the lockdown experiences, and then think about it, what those experiences meant for them as designers, and thinking about the future of how to design future housing, and trying to capture those experiences, vivid experiences and feelings. Was trying to almost kind of thought about the methodology from the point of view of actually thinking what were the emerging phenomenological values of the home, and what are those phenomenological values that we should take forward when we are designing new houses. And we did a number of different codings and different a process of capturing all the information, and this is a very precise methodological approach which requires huge amount of kind of data gathering and iterative process. And from those coding, we got with 4 really important themes. One was the online socialness, like today, the importance of being able to connect with the outside world through the mediums like the one we are here today. The importance of nature and connected to nature becomes a really, really important element of the analysis. A spaciousness, which not means more space, but a spaciousness from the point of view of being able to kind of morph, change, and adapt the spaces. And the idea of cleanliness. And cleanliness came from the perspective of the accumulation of activities and stuff that this lockdown brought, and being able to separate and kind of almost clean your mind of the different aspects of what was happening during that intense experience. The importance of the home as a nurturing space, but also the home as a negotiated space, that it was something completely new that we never had experienced. Would be that an interpretative phenomenological analysis is a really novel methodological approach that can significantly benefit the architecture field, especially when combined with something that we do really well, the visual drawing. And that could also kind of be adapted within architecture, but with other fields that will benefit for using drawings to capture the vivid experience. We also, the study also presents a really personal set of conversations that provide a snapshot of how a small group of architects, designers in a way, try to make sense of their lived experience through the first lockdown that we ever had, and how 4 critical phenomenological designs values came as a consequence of that, as I kind of discussed about it. And kind of the fact that these 4 socio-spatial affordances of the house as a negotiated nurture space is a pivotal as new transformational considerations of future design thinking are being considered.
Yaya and Fidel, that came from the Department of Architecture at University of West England, Bristol. And the title of the presentation is Architectural Form and Environment Through the Lens of Integral Theory.
I'll start with my proposition, actually, and the criticism that I have towards the current approach of dealing with environmental design, which is kind of a mixed with the current economical model, which has made sustainability a rather, if I may say that, a rather dry and dull technocratic topic in architecture. The idea of environmental or environment has always been part of architecture, and so this technocratic way of thinking about sustainable design and the lack of theoretical understanding, I think, is the essence of the problem. That's why we haven't fixed it in the last 20, 30 years. And those who are actually, or so-called leading environmental design, or those who are leading the environmental design agenda, like LEED, BREEAM, Passive House Institute, Zero Carbon, and so on, they lack understanding of architectural conception, subjectivity in the process of environmental thinking, because of these subjective indices that we are trying to introduce. Is that the fact that I would like to call it indexical sustainable design, which is somehow analogous to the integral way of thinking about sustainable design. So this indexical sustainable design is a term that we are developing in this research. And in order to decode subjectivity, the methodology that we are using, we use Ken Wilber's integral theory or integral framework to frame a way in which we propose a design strategy that is sustainable. Ken Wilber's attempt, who's a philosopher, to contextualize any form of knowledge through 4 perspectives. And if you take a moment of being, a microsecond, or even a drop of experience, as Ken Wilber himself puts it, it happens always through these 4 quadrants, which are, as you can see, subjective, objective, interobjective, intersubjective. And I'll quickly go through some of it. So the subjective aspect of it is emotional and memories. And the objectives are the material body, the measurable things that we are dealing. And intersubjective is the collective shared values, society, culture, ethics, and interobjective are the systems or the network or the idea or notion of cybernetics. So if you think about a design as a multiple layer of information, and each of these layers have indices, and each of these indices refer to one of these 4 quadrants, you end up with indexical or integral sustainable design, as opposed to the current approach that only looks at upper right quadrant. And unfortunately, many environmental design methods today and many environmental design practices, architects or sustainable architects, lack any attempt to establish a narrative with the history of the place and establish this indexical way of thinking about environmental design. I'm going to play with words here, don't get me wrong, but it is to be present in the ecosystem and have a high impact. I'm just playing with words as opposed to low impact. Of course, the objective or the third person, the thing or the exteriority or rationalizing design, basic scientific facts are important. So this is part of the integral approach in designing sustainable buildings, and these set of empirical data which shape form to evaluate and maximize performance.
Helen Windsor from the University of Westminster with the exhibition Mission Austria, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Trawling for Treasure in the Celestial Seas. And we'll kind of take our gaze away from the Earth and into outer space and the issue of space debris.
Today I'll be presenting my final year master's project. I was in Studio DS18 that aims to form design projects through researching phenomena that highlight current climatic issues. The brief topic for the year was carbon, and I designed a circular economy project that proposes recycling space debris, hence the title Mission Austria, Trawling for Treasure in the Celestial Seas. It is an abstract, radical proposal that looks at sustainability from beyond Earth from a perspective that looks to preserving the future of space. The space race between the US and the Soviet Union that began in the 1950s propelled the evolution of space technology to become the reality we know today. Currently, there are 4,084 functioning satellites in orbit. However, everything humans have ever launched into space is still there. Alongside the 4,084 functioning satellites, there are millions of space debris orbiting too. The debris is made up of human-made objects such as dead satellites, launch rocket bodies, and space shuttles, as well as natural satellites like asteroids. Rocket launch produces the same amount of carbon as 5 return flights from New York to London. Of course, in the end, I had to create an architectural project that embodied my research. The aim of Mission Austria is to clean space through collecting debris from space to Earth via a space elevator that is grounded in Cornwall's Lizard Peninsula. The program consists of a space debris collection device called a space elevator, debris sorting facilities, a government intelligence program, and a space junk museum. The project champions the embodied carbon of satellites, their life cycle, and the potential to create a complex infrastructural system in the future of 2075.